but I don't know if I really enjoyed it either. I don't know. I struggled with it. I really did. I finished it, but I struggled with it. And then I feel like I'm still a little confused. Hi, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be one of my favorite ones to do. I love doing review videos over the books I read for the month. So my TBR did not get read, or what I thought would be my TBR, it really didn't get read. I have come to realize that I am 100% a mood reader. So let's get into this. Okay, so we're just going to start right from the beginning. So I read 4 books this month. Now, my reading really does slow down once I go back to work. And I've just gotten to the point where I'm able to read like physical copies of books. So that's been exciting to like actually hold a book in my hand again. I mainly do audiobooks and or like some kind of digital version on my Kindle or the Kindle app on my phone. And so I'm like super excited to actually check books out from the library and hold them in my hands and like get to touch the papers and everything. So that has been really exciting. So, one thing I do need to apologize for is I will have to be manipulating paper. I hope that's something that doesn't annoy you, the sound that it potentially makes, because I am actually using my cell phone to record, and I usually use my cell phone to get all the information from my Goodreads. So I had to write everything down. So I will be using a paper today. But let's go ahead and get into this. I know I've already said that. So the first book that I read was The Spanish Love Deception. And little background on that book, just in case you wanted to read it. It is written by Elena Armas, I think is how you pronounce her name. The main character in this book is Catalina Martin, and the love interest is Aaron Blackford. So Catalina is going home to Spain to her sister's wedding. And when she's going home to her sister's wedding, she will also be seeing her ex, who is her sister's fiance's brother, I believe. I believe brother. I believe it's a brother. They have broken up, and she is like now single, but she doesn't want to go to the wedding by herself because she doesn't want everyone to feel bad for her. And so in walks Aaron Blackford, and he convinces her to take him to Spain. And then, of course, it's called the Spanish Love Deception. So they're trying to get her family to believe that they are together and in love. And then in the process, they do end up falling in love. I This was a quick read for me, but I like I stated in one of my previous videos, like love romance books right now, I just have not been really gravitating towards it. So this one has been on my TBR. I requested it on Libby. It finally came through. Unfortunately, it came through at a time where I was just into reading something else. I do feel that if I had read it a while ago, I think I would feel a little bit different about it. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. I have read one of her, like two of her other books. There's one like a roommate something, and there's another book where the characters, there's like soccer involved. I really enjoyed that book. I would definitely say that was like one of my favorites by her. But I just think that this book came at a time where I'm just not really into reading romance right now. So, I mean, I read it, I finished it. I did listen to it on audiobook. I do think that's another thing. I do feel like maybe if I would have read the physical copy instead of listening to audiobook, it might have been different. I do feel like when you do listen to audiobook, the audiobook reader has the potential to make or break the experience, the reading, listening experience for sure. So I enjoyed it, but I think I would have enjoyed it more given if I had read it like, I don't know, 6 months ago when that was something that I really wanted to read. So it was an enjoyable book. There were some funny parts in the book, just not where I am right now. So, my second read was, oh, Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. Annabelle Monaghan. I think it's how you pronounce her last name. Yes. So I this was a quick read for me. It was an easy read. Again, it had like the romance factor. I love that it was a closed door romance. Um, just because I feel like sometimes romance it can some of them can get me really spicy, can get really spicy, and like for me, reading spice over and over again when that seems to be the focus of the book, just I don't know, just doesn't really appeal to me so much. But this was a closed door romance. I did enjoy that. I like that. There was a whole lot more focus on the character development. So this book follows Allie Morris, I believe is her name, and she is like separated. Her and her husband have been separated, and they are finally getting a divorce. And so she has three children, two girls, one boy, and it just kind of follows like how she's finding herself again. So she was an accountant back in the day, and then like her and her husband were really pursuing their careers. Well, then they had kids, and I guess it became kind of hard. So she decided, or they decided, that she would stay home. And then, like, as we all know, when you become a mom, there is like this whole era where you just seem to lose yourself. And so I really related with this just because I feel like now that we are out of our kid having era, that I'm able to focus more on myself and like finding myself again. And like with that has been like this new whole found thing with like reading books for me. And so Allie was on like the same path. And so she's really good at organizing. And so she's trying to build an organizing business. This book, I did love it. I loved seeing the relationships develop. And so the love interest in this book, his name is Ethan, goes by Scooter, I believe, in the story. That was his nickname. He is the brother of her best friend, but she doesn't know that when they meet, and then they go on this date, and then like I guess he kind of like doesn't call her, like ghost her, and then she shows up to this dinner, and then poof, boom, it's Ethan that she has been like gushing over. And so, like, they develop this relationship. He agrees to take on some of her work with her divorce because he is a lawyer. He had gone out and, like, made a big name for himself. And so I thought that she did a really good job showing character development, like, on both of their parts, but really on Allie's part. And just, I don't know. I did really enjoy that. But I do believe the book again came at a time. This is a book that I requested a while ago and finally came in just at a time where I wasn't really into really reading romance. I did enjoy it. It was a quick read for me. If I would have read it like maybe 6 months ago, probably would have just gushed over it and loved it so much. I did enjoy the character development and how relatable she was to me at this point in my life. I thought that it had a really sweet ending. I I did enjoy how like Allie and Ethan's relationship came to be, and I just thought she did a really good job. I also love that it was a closed door romance, so we got to focus a whole lot more, in my opinion, on the relationships, like I said. And yeah, it was just a quick, easy read. If you're looking for something quick and easy, that'll help. I would definitely say it is set in the summer. And so if you are really into reading cozy stuff right now, then maybe wait until the spring or the summer to read this book. But I thought it was a quick, easy, enjoyable, light-hearted read about a single mom just finding herself again. I really enjoyed that. So that was my book two. Okay, so my book three was actually on my TBR. And so I do believe in like my September reads, October TBR video. I had said that I was going to read um, Tower of Dawn and then The Cruel Prince. And so I got The Cruel Prince and read The Cruel Prince. And this is the first like physical book that I have read in a really long time, like getting a physical copy of the book. And I checked it out from my local library because that is what I do to really save money on book buying. I check it out first, and if I like it, then I buy it, I add it to my library, and then I can lend it out to whoever might want it. And so that is what I did with this one. And let me tell you, um let me back up. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I forgot to mention the author. Holly Black is the author. I I don't know. I have lots of mixed feelings about this. Now, my sister did read it before me, and she told me basically, eh. I don't know if I have voiced this before about the whole fairy thing. I, I don't know. I guess I'm just not a fairy girl. And so, if you have ever read The Cruel Prince, you know that the main character in here really wants to be basically like a fairy and to be accepted and like loved by the fairies. And so this story started out real promising. I enjoyed the beginning. So this story follows the main character whose name is Jude. She has a twin sister, Taryn, and then an older sister who goes by Vivi. And in the beginning of the story, this guy, Fairy, shows up at their door and basically murders her parents. Mom was married to him, with him, had the older sister, Vivi, and then ended up running back to the human world with her, got remarried, had the second life. He tracked her down, killed her, took all the kids. And so Jude kind of like toys or is like in this weird, she respects Maddox, who I guess would be kind of like her adopted fairy murder dad. So he took them in because he murdered her mom and dad. He She has like this weird thing where she's like, I know I should be grateful because like he's given me all these things, I have all these things, but then at the same time he did murder my parents. I don't really know how to feel about that. And so that goes on a lot in the story where she keeps saying that. But she also, because she like lives in the fairy world now, she really wants to be accepted by the fairy, and she has this dream to be like this warrior on the court. So Matic is like this huge warrior, and he only thing he knows is like bloodshed and war. And so Jude, there are like some aspects of the story I was a little confused about too. And so like Jude and Taryn attend the school with the rest of the fairy young adults. I can't remember if they even mentioned their age. And then there is this guy, fairy, Carden, who like hates her, and she knows he hates her, that he's always doing cruel things to her, him and his friends. And like one of the friends tries to kill her, and then Carden ends up stopping him, and then she's having like some mixed feelings about that. I just felt like Jude was a very flat character. So when I think of Jude, for some reason it makes me think of Tamlin from A Court of Thorns and Roses, who I thought was just so flatlined the whole entire story, and that is how I felt about Jude. I don't really remember anything really happening. There were lots of parts where she would like walk to the water and sit. She's like, I needed to go and I needed to walk to the water and look in the water and reflect. Not a lot of action for me in this one, and I do feel like I need that. This was very interesting. I can't really say that much about world building either. I don't know. I don't know. This was I didn't get into it. I finished it cuz I wanted to know how it ended. Um the ending was kind of not predictable by me. I didn't predict the ending, but I don't know if I really enjoyed it either. I don't know. I struggled with it. I really did. I finished it, but I struggled with it. And then I feel like I'm still a little confused. I think it's a 3-part series. I don't know if I'm going to be reading the second or the third at all. I I don't know. I wanted some romance. There was like a little bitty part where there was like some romance. This is considered young adult, I believe. Yeah, mine library has it listed as young adult, and so I don't know. I just felt like it was a lot of hate, 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 and then boom, and then nothing, and then more hate. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Moving on. All right. So let's end on a high note with this next book. I have been raving about this book. So this book came on my radar like maybe a month ago. And then I started hearing other people talk about it. And then Reagan from Peruse Project on YouTube talked about it being a good book, and I guess like one of those underrated books that's like so good. And so I requested it and it came in really quick. And so this book was like a 5-star read for me, and I'm going to give you like all the reasons why. So, the next book is Legend Born by Tracy Dion. So I have been on this journey where I am trying to read some more books by African American people, people who look like me, because representation is important, right? So I have really been on this journey where I have been trying to find more books by African American authors, and I have been trying to make a point to read those books. And so when I heard about this one, at first I was like, I mean, I'll give it a try. I'm not normally into the magic system in this one is very different. It seems to also be kind of rooted in some like African American heritage like beliefs, which is really cool to me. And so was not aware of that going into this book, but gosh, I really enjoyed it. And so this book is about Brianna. Brianna is like super smart and gets into kind of like this early entrance UNC, so University of North Carolina, which was the college I wanted to go to, but it was way too expensive, and so I went at home on scholarship. So free education, I couldn't pass it up. So she gets her and her friend get into this program at UNC. They apply to it. They're both really smart, and so they're 16-year-olds basically getting into this early entrance program. Brianna's mom has recently died in a car accident, and so she's like dealing with all of this grief and everything. And her and her friend get there and they go to this like party or this event, and then of course the police show up. The police find her and her friend is like her friend Alice is like really really mad at her because they basically got, I guess, kind of like arrested but not really arrested, and so they let them off with a warning, but her friend is really upset. And so because of this, she gets paired up with like a mentor named Nick. And the dean of students or whatever paired her up with this guy because he said that she needed some more direction, needed to be watched. And so she keeps finding herself in these situations where she keeps like ending up like, I guess, in trouble. And so she avoided Nick for a really long time. Her dad also was trying to get her hooked up with like a therapist. She was trying to avoid that for a really long time. And so then Nick ends up finding her. They end up being friends, but she also witnesses this whole entire like different world going down where some kind of creature came, and there were like all these people who came and they were like fighting this creature. She wasn't supposed to see it, but she did see it. And so like that right there like kind of leads her into this whole new world. She finds out that Nick knows about it. He's a part of the world. He agrees to help her because she does believe like something happened with her mom, that it was more than an accident. And so like he lets her in to basically, it's a secret society that's kind of being passed off. It's kind of like a, what is it, like a fraternity, sorority, that kind of thing, like that kind of life. And it's just like this whole adventure. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers because I want you to read the book, but it's so good. And so there's like this whole thing with like King Arthur and um some African American like roots in like slavery, and whereas reading things like that always gets me like in the feels, but then like also at the same time, like I do like reading things about slavery. I don't know. I don't know. It's just something that interests me. And so there's like some elements of that in the story, going like dating back to like her ancestors, and there's this really cool thing that happens with the girls in the family, and then she's a girl, and it's really really cool. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. There was so much action, there were lots of fight scenes, there was some romance in the book, like just enough to make me super happy in reading this book. And so I picked up the second one. I started reading that one like almost immediately. I think it's like Blood Oath. And wow, I'm really enjoying this series. But what I really, really, really loved is how I could kind of relate to the character. One, she's a natural, and I'm a natural. She always talks about like her hair and like styling it and wearing it and like it being curly and frizzy at the right moments, and people coming up to her and like touching her hair and her saying no, you can't do that, but like a very relatable character because representation matters. And I just wow, I have so many things to say about this book, but it was so good, so very good. um I love the magic system that was in the book. It was a very interesting take to me on a magic system, and like I don't know how she came up with what she came up with. The main characters were great, the supporting characters were great, everyone really contributed to the story like amazingly. So I highly recommend this book. I highly recommend Legend Born. It's a book that I will be buying and adding to my bookshelves because it's definitely going to be a reread for me. I think the third book comes out in 2025, and like 2025 is going to be a year. I have that. I have the third book to the Powerless series. I have Onyx Storm, a lot of thick, big reads for me, and I am so excited. So very excited. So go read Legendborn because it's like the one that I think I am raving about the most for my October reads. Usually at the end of my videos, I like to talk about books that I'm going to read in November. Guys, I am going to have to be honest with you. Right now, I'm mood reading. Also, November is going to be super busy for me. So, November is going to be the month in which I sit down and start draft two of my book. And so, I don't know how much reading I am going to be able to get done. But here is probably what's going to happen. I am in the middle of reading four books right now. I am I'm rereading one, started two books, and then I just started Blood Oath. And so that is probably where I'm going to be in November. It's just those four books if I get them all done, and rewriting draft two of my own book. And so I have to be honest, what's probably going to happen for me in November is if I get through those four books, I'll get through those four books. But if I don't get through those four books, it's going to be because I am rewriting draft two, and I kind of decided that I am going to rewrite the whole book and not just go in and plug things in and take things out just because of how my brain works. And so November's buckle down time for me. It's like this whole week, I'm not doing any writing whatsoever. I'm taking a complete and total break because my brain needs it, my family needs it. Yeah. So these are the four books that I am currently reading and what I'm just going to consider my November TBR. And so I just started Blood Oath by Tracy Dion, which is the follow up to Legendborn. So I will be reading that book. Another book that I am reading is Save the Cat writes a novel, which has been great. And I wish I would have actually read that book before starting the writing process of my book. So that's one of the reasons why I'm rewriting my book is because of the Save the Cat book, because it just lays everything out so nicely. I want to make sure I have all the elements that I need for it to be a great, good story. And so I am basically going to start over fresh with draft two and then copy and paste things I need to copy and paste and write and type and do all the things that I need to do and plug in the pieces that I feel like I'm missing. But if you are writing a book, I highly recommend Save the Cat Writes a Novel. I think it's like the The Only Book You'll Ever Need for Writing a Novel, or something like that. That book is really nice and easy to follow. So far, I have really been enjoying it. I'm listening to it on audiobook. I will be buying a physical copy so I can use it as I am writing my novel, like doing draft two. The third book that I am currently reading is Fair Play. That is a self-help book because like I like to read self-help books sometimes, but it's like a really good book on, I guess, like balancing the mental load in marriage. And wow, it has been very eye-opening for me, um, especially with my husband and I both working full-time jobs and trying to take care of the children. I would say we've gotten a really good balance. Fair Play is about, I guess, like managing that and speaking to your spouse about ways that they can help out more so that like one person isn't totally taking the mental load on, because that is a lot. So that's my third book. And then the fourth book that I'm reading, which is a reread for me, and this is a book one of the first books I read when I restarted my whole reading journey, was Evie Drake Starts Over. So I bought this at a library sale because it was on sale for $1. And so, like, why not? And I listened to it on audiobook because I've been listening to audiobooks for a really long time, for like 8 years now. Because, like, my oldest is 8. Yeah, so about 8 years now. I've been like listening to audiobooks. And so I am reading that book. It's a reread for me. I do remember enjoying it and like that being like the catalyst that just kind of helped me get really into reading. And I think after that, I ended up reading Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. I think it's by Christina Lauren. But I am rereading Evie. Evie, actually, I know it's not Evie, it's Evie. Evie Drake Starts Over. They do this whole thing about the pronunciation of her name in the book. And so that's kind of where I am with reading right now. And I probably will not be making my reading goal. I think I have a reading goal of like 85 books this year, which is, I don't know why I thought that I'd be able to do that while writing a novel. Silly me. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video where I basically just chat your ear off about the books I read, but then like really chatted your ear off about Legendborn. So thank you so much for tuning into this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you come back for more. I do have to say a huge thank you to like all the people who have subscribed to my channel so far and have commented on my videos. It's been great getting to like talk to people about books. Some people left like really long comments, which I love. And then a lot of people have been talking about how we have similar tastes in books. And like, I'm really excited for that because I don't really have a lot of people that I know right now who have like very similar tastes in books to me that I can actually discuss things with. And so, of course, thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you made it to the end, you are a real friend. And as always, drop a heart down in the comments and let me know that you were here and that you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Okay.
Have fun.
Thank you. Yes. I dropped the phone like 15 times.